Hi, I'm Sarah Glassberg, and this is AJFF in Conversation, the Jewish film podcast. In last week's June What to Watch, we recommended some Jewish flicks hitting streaming platforms this month, plus one theatrical release, but there is actually another amazing Jewish film that can be seen in theaters starting this week that we were thrilled to present in our 2021 festival this past February. And that film is Eitan Fox's Sublet. If you didn't have an opportunity to screen it at home during our hybrid edition and are able to seek it out theatrically, especially as this month is Pride Month as well, we definitely recommend this warmly affecting cross-generational melodrama about a middle-aged gay American writer played by John Benjamin Hickey, who is numbed by tragedy and finds solace in the company of a younger Israeli man, played by Niv Nassim, in Tel Aviv. The film even won AJFF's 2021 Building Bridges Jury Prize. So whether you saw the film with the festival or do plan to check it out in theaters, we wanted to share with podcast listeners the exclusive Q&A we hosted, moderated by director of Out on Film Festival, Jim Farmer, with the renowned Israeli director Eitan Fox himself, as well as stars John Benjamin Hickey and Niv Nassim. It was an enlightening and lively discussion, and we hope you enjoy.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for the Q&A for Sublet, a presentation of the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival. My name is Jim Farmer, and I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ film festival. I adore this film. I'm such a huge fan of this film, particularly the story about how these two men come into each other's lives and have such a profound effect on each other. I'm very excited to be talking to the writer-director of this film, Eitan Fox, and the two stars, John Benjamin Hickey and Niv Nassim. Thank you for joining us. I want to read quick bios, and then we'll jump into the conversation. Eitan Fox is one of Israel's leading directors. His films, among them Yossi and Yeager, Walk on Water, The Bubble, Yossi, and Cupcakes, have been released theatrically in over 30 countries and have won 28 international awards, including from the Berlin Film Festival, the Tribeca Film Festival, and the National Board of Review. Please welcome Eitan Fox.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. John Benjamin Hickey is a prolific film, stage, and television actor. On Broadway, he originated the role of Arthur in Terrence McNally's Love, Valor, Compassion, a role he recreated for the film version. He also appeared in the 2011 Broadway revival of The Normal Heart, for which he won the Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a Play. Hickey has also appeared in films such as The Ice Storm, The Anniversary Party, Then She Found Me, Pitch Perfect, and Maplethorpe. His television work includes The Big C, Law and Order, Modern Family, and Brothers and Sisters. In 2018, he appeared in the world premiere of the new play, The Inheritance, at London's Young Vic, and then transferred to the West End. The play came to Broadway a few years ago, and he is nominated again for a Tony Award. Please welcome John Benjamin Hickey.
Hi.
Niv Nassim graduated from the Nissan Nativ Acting Studio and then joined the Beit Lassin Theater, where he appeared in a production of Passing the Love of Women, an adaptation of a short story by Isaac Bashevis Singer. This is his first film. Please welcome Niv Nassim.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you all for joining us. Again, I am such a huge fan of this film. Eitan, I want to ask you, first of all, was there any particular inspiration for this film?
Well, the way I work with my, especially for my personal films, and Sublet is probably my most personal film, is that, once I realize the world's enabling me to make a film, I kind of try to understand what I'm dealing with. I look inwards and try to kind of look at all the things that have been piling up. Psychological issues, social issues, political issues, try to figure out, all kinds of existential things. And when I was about to start working on Sublet, this was after I celebrated my 50th birthday, and I said, I want to understand who I am at this certain point in my life, who I am as a gay man, a married, childless gay man. an Israeli, a Jew, a filmmaker, and just, like in any good therapy session, I went back to see who I was when I was 20 and 30 and 40, what gay man I was then, what Jew or Israeli or filmmaker I was at the time, what decisions I made at the time, how they affected who I am today. And I guess part of what I did is I also looked at 20-somethings, 30-somethings, 40-somethings today and tried to understand who I am opposite them when I look at them, and so on and so forth. And once I kind of got that worked out, and I solved all these problems that I realized I had, and these questions that were burning inside of me, and I had these insights, I thought, okay, what am I going to do with all this stuff? How am I going to share this with people? And I started, coming up with a plot, a story that could be like a vehicle to share these thoughts with people. And then I came up with these amazing characters with Michael and Tomer, very different men. And I said, we have to bring them together. We have to confront them. We have to have them talk, argue, create this connection, create this relationship, find this love. And maybe through that relationship and through this story that these two men share, I can share my thoughts, my feelings, my insights with people around me. Yeah, I guess that was an inspiration, but that was the process, more or less.
John and Neve, what I love about this film and these characters are just so complex. You may think you know who they are at the beginning of the movie, but there's so many nuances and subtleties in these two. Can you both of you talk a little bit about these characters and who they are at the beginning of the film and who they are at the end of the film? John, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think as Eitan was speaking to, for me, this movie is about, like, for a person my age, which Michael's in his early 50s in the movie, like, what does it mean to be gay now? Because the world has changed so much for gay people, and I think he doesn't really understand what it means to be gay until he meets someone who is a lot younger than he is and kind of helps show him what the world looks like. And what's interesting about Michael is he's a travel writer. He's supposed to be somebody who does know how to explore other places. And he's very, very, he's a lot more closed off than he thinks he is. And that's because a terrible thing has happened in his life. He's lost a child. And he's kind of at a crossroads in his relationship and in his life. And he comes fully packed and prepared to experience this other place. But it's not until he sees it through the eyes of a young person that he really understands the place. And I think that's a metaphor for who he is too, as a gay human being. Like, this young guy who he doesn't think knows anything about his world teaches him sort of how to see it anew, if that makes sense.
Okay. Neve.
So Tomer is like, he's a young gay man. He's a film student. He's living his life. He's like in the, if you want, the prime of his, youth. And I think we talked about it. He doesn't really know why he's sad. And when he meets Michael, something happens to him, because if John just said that Tomer helped John to see the world through his eyes, so for Tomer it's like the opposite thing, because he suddenly understands what does it mean to be a gay man, because he didn't have to go through everything that Michael did when he was young. I mean, the world is so different, and you can say he didn't even know that. I mean, he didn't care. And when he meets Michael and he see what happened to him, and he feels what he feels for a moment, it changes him a lot. So when he started the film, he was like something, and when the film ended, he was something else. He learned a lot. He learned everything about, what does it mean to live in this world.
I have to admit, at the end of the film, I found myself wondering, where would these characters be in 3 months, 6 months? Would they still be in touch? I was so engaged with them. I mean, had for any of you, where do you think these characters would be in 6 months in their lives, and in terms of staying in touch with each other?
In my mind, when I think about it, I want Tomer to go and to surprise Michael in New York, and like to discover New York through his eyes. Sublet too. No, just
yeah, exactly. A sequel. I don't know. The only person who could really answer that question is Eitan, but
yeah,
I think there's something so incredibly bittersweet about this platonic, for the most part, love story between these two men. I think they get everything they can from each other, which is everything, and they both know that it's okay if they never see each other again. Eitan?
Well, I'm more of a romantic, I guess. I want them to stay in touch. No, but of course, John, the way you describe it is really very, very authentic, and that's why the end is kind of bittersweet. But I actually expect them to stay in touch. And when Tomer does reach New York, he probably will meet Michael, and Michael will show him around. And I personally hope Michael finds a way of becoming a father. And then he will introduce Tomer to his little boy or girl. That's something that a scene I'd like to see.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, because for me, there's an additional character in this film, the energy of Tel Aviv. Can you talk a little bit about Tel Aviv as a character in this film?
First of all, you should ask John about Tel Aviv, because
Okay.
I met it for more or less the first time. But okay, I'll say that Tel Aviv is my home and my town, and I love it, and I think the world of it. I can't imagine myself living anywhere else. I'm really a patriot of Tel Aviv, and it's like, I wouldn't say all those things about Israel, by the way. So it's like, in many ways, there's Tel Aviv and then there's Israel, or there's Israel and there's Tel Aviv. Mm-hmm. But that kind of gets me into trouble, I guess, if I say it that way. But no, I love Tel Aviv. John, tell us what you think about Tel Aviv.
Well, it's interesting. The thing that happens to Michael in the movie is the thing that happened to me in real life. Life really imitated art. Michael meets this young man, has an idea of what his experience will be like in Tel Aviv, based on all the books that he's read and based on all the lists he's made and based on what the New York Times, he's a New York Times travel writer, the New York Times has given him, we want you to go here and here and here, and this is what you'll write about. And he meets this young person who shows him the real Tel Aviv and shows him a truly authentic version of the city, and as a result of himself. And that's what happened to me through Eitan and through Niv. We all became a family, and I'd never been to a Shabbat dinner, or if I had, it was just called dinner on Friday night. So I started going to these Shabbat dinners with Niv's family, and I fell completely in love with them, and they in some ways adopted me. I fell in love with Eitan's family, and I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with the food there. I gained probably 8 pounds, and Eitan is a bit of a sadist, so he waited and shot the scene where I don't have any clothes on at the very end of the movie. It was our one big fight on the set. Like, how could you do this to me? No, the food in Tel Aviv, for those who don't know it, it's the food capital of the world, or certainly was pre-pandemic. So there is a culture and a vitality to the city that is rich, doesn't even begin to describe it. And listen, in many ways, what Eitan's describing, there's Israel and there's Tel Aviv. Well, there's America and there's big cities. There's New York, there's Atlanta, there's Chicago, there's LA. We certainly understand that dynamic and the conflict in that dynamic. I mean, it's certainly a lot more concentrated and intense in Israel, but in America, it's the same right now. So yeah, it's a character. I fall in love with two things in this movie. I fall in love with this young man, and I also fall in love with this extraordinary city. And I'll just end by saying one of the things that's so potent about this movie right now that wasn't anticipated is that we're in all such a lockdown. This movie's about travel. This movie is about getting on a plane and going somewhere and being in the hustle and bustle of a great metropolis. And of course, we're all starving for that kind of stimulation right now. And this movie offers it in the most wonderfully vicarious way.
Neve, this is your first film. What was it like being in your first film with Eitan Fox and John Benjamin Hickey? Because they have been around and have done so much great work over the last few decades.
You can't imagine. When I got the call, it was like, because Eitan, he's the director in Israel, and I grew up on his films, and they gave me hope when I was young, and I saw something else when I watched his films. And John is such an amazing actor, and when I found out that he is who he is, and that I'm gonna be working with him and learning from him, it was amazing. And both John and Eitan they had so much patience for me, and they taught me everything I needed to know right on the spot. And it was an amazing experience. I mean, I don't think I will ever have this, as much as amazing experience as I had, because it was something else, because it was my first job, and it was my first time on a set with the cameras and the crew and everybody. And the feeling was of a really, really big family. I had my father, which is Eitan, who took me and was amazing with me and taught me everything. And I had John, it was kind of my best friend and the person to talk to when I had something on my mind. And it was amazing. I couldn't ask for anything better for my first experience, and I'm eternally grateful. Yeah.
Eitan, this is your first English language film. Can you talk a little bit about that?
English for me is like one of my two languages. I was raised in English because my parents. I was born in New York, and my parents moved to Israel when I was 3, and they spoke English to us, to me and my brothers, when we were kids. Mm-hmm. They hardly spoke any Hebrew at all. So yeah, we spoke English, but I live in Israel and I make films here, so. Naturally, I made my films in Hebrew. They were about Israeli characters here in Israel and so on. And now, when I realized that I needed these two people to meet, an American and an Israeli, so I realized we'd have to speak English, and I was very happy about it. I love speaking English. Since my parents passed, there's less English in my life, and now I had this wonderful opportunity to work in English. And to, work with actors in English. I have to apologize to John once again that we didn't always speak English in his presence. Sometimes when we had to do things fast and then get all, I don't know what, Israeli about things, so we moved to Hebrew. And then I felt bad about John not understanding us. But then again, it was very much, it was very much like the character, not understanding all the Hebrew around him. And so that's my excuse. I wanted him. This was method acting. It was method.
I always assumed they were talking about me whenever they would go to Hebrew. I was like, oh, they can't say this. That's just because I'm. It's the first time I've ever. It's so funny. I've seen all of Eitan's movies. I've been a lifelong fan as well as Neve. I've just loved his movies. So when I got the call to do this, I was so just floored, knocked out that he was interested in working with me. And I've never thought of his movies as like, I never thought of this being his first English language film. That's strange. That's the first time I've realized that, because his movies translate so beautifully. And there's a lot of English spoken in his movies too. But it's like the first, I mean, and I guess I think the same thing about Almodovar. I don't think of him as his movies being Spanish language, because the themes are so wonderfully universal. But this is your first English language movie.
No, you saw Walk on Water, which is 80% English actually, or 70% English. This is like 95% English, but and has an American character.
Yeah.
And it's my first movie, and it's in English, so mind that.
Oh, yeah, God, yes. Holy crap. You're really good.
Hey, Eitan, I wanted to ask you, I mean, so many people know about Israeli culture, especially LGBTQ culture, through your films. Can you talk a little bit about being a pioneer and wanting to tell the stories that you've told?
Well, when I started making films in Israel, I think the word gay did not exist in Israel or in Israeli culture. I mean, really, that word was not there. And when I wanted to tell my stories in the beginning, to create gay characters and tell, gay love stories, it was very, very uncommon, very problematic. I had to go through a lot of stuff to make those first films happen. And I insisted, and I didn't give up, and film by film, it did become easier to tell these stories and to get these films funded by the government, by the Israeli government, and to show the films abroad, and to be sent by the country to represent it worldwide. So I was happy that Israel said we're proud to send an LGBT film to represent us in festivals or worldwide, which is something which, if you told me that Israel would send a gay film to represent itself somewhere in the world when I was a teenager in Israel, I'd say you're crazy,
Wow.
Yeah, so we didn't have gay novels or gay theater or films or anything. So, yeah. So I'm happy and proud to be one of the people who really contributed quite a lot to that change in Israel. Hopefully other places as well. But it was important to me to create this world for myself, because there wasn't a world that had gay characters, gay representation in them.
Thank you so much for your incredible body of work. John, I mean, can you talk briefly about how Eitan's work has affected you, or how, you've seen his films over the years and what it's done for your career?
Can I say something about how John's work affected me? Can I do that, please? No, seriously. I remember I couldn't get out of my seat. I couldn't stand up. After in 1994, I saw Love, Valor, Compassion. I think it was still off Broadway before it moved to Broadway, became this giant hit, became a film and whatever. I tell you, I sat there, I couldn't move. I was so excited. I couldn't believe that there was a play like this, and an actor like John, and all those actors, that ensemble, and I followed John's career throughout the years. I saw Normal Heart, and then just before we met, I saw this what was it called? Dada Wolf,
Papa Hot. Yeah, crazy
in Lincoln Center, which was about gay parents. So, and I said, and I saw John's work on television and film. So yeah, so it's not only about me. And I saw Neve in his school plays, and that was wonderful. So I got to work with these two.
Changed your life.
What?
I changed your life.
But weren't you, Eitan, I think that's so interesting. Weren't you, like, you were interested in Neve for the part, so you went to see him in his school sort of develop as an actor, which I think is so extraordinary, and in some ways speaks to what a small town Tel Aviv is, and New York is the same way. I mean, like, there's a pool of talent and people, and if you're looking in the right places, you can find, it's once in a lifetime you find somebody like Neve. But like the fact that you you saw him. It's almost like when one of those in sports, when you go to different high schools and
Scouting.
Yeah. Scouting. I'm clearly gay. I can't remember what scouting is. You scouted Neve.
I did. Yeah.
Amazing.
And I didn't know at the time. I didn't know why he's coming to see our little, plays. I didn't know why Aidan is coming. We were so honored that he came, but we didn't know why. And when I found out later that he wanted to watch,
all for you.
So it was mind blowing.
I also when Eitan was describing was the first gay movie representing Israel and internationally, and how unlikely that would have been, impossible but when I watched his movies over the years, and maybe this is because I am gay, when you see a wonderful movie about human beings, it stops being a gay movie. It just becomes a movie. Like, I think Weekend is a great example of that. Almodovar, Brokeback Mountain. You think of movies that are gay movies, and I think whether you're gay or straight, if it's wonderful, like I believe Sublet is, the label seems like a label, and that's good. A label is fine. I'm proud to be in a lot of LGBT stuff, but it's also, when it's really good, it opens up and becomes just a movie, just a good movie. And I've always felt that way about his movies. I thought they were so universal,
and they were
sexy too. He made very sexy movies, and I like being in sexy movies.
John, I have to ask you, I'm a big theater junkie myself. The last play that I saw before the lockdown was The Inheritance.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations. What a phenomenal piece of work. And congratulations on your Tony nomination. Do you know yet when the Tony Awards are going to be held? Does anybody?
The great actor Brooks Ashmanskas, who was so magnificent in The Prom, and he's been in a million different things. Yeah. When I got the nomination, he texted me and said, "Congratulations on your asterisk." They're all, this is, there was only was it even a half of the season, like a quarter of the season? There were so many amazing things about to open, one of which I can happily say I was directing, Plaza Suite with Sarah Jessica and Matthew. But so I was, quite frankly, I was surprised they even had one this year, but I think it's a great thing for the Broadway League and the American Theater Wing to do, to try to keep the, some commemoration of this abbreviated season alive. So the answer to your question is, I have absolutely no idea. And I'm not like, when movie stars are like, "Oh, I didn't know the Academy Award nominations were coming out this morning." You're like, "Oh, you're lying, Faye Dunaway. You knew exactly when they were coming out." I really didn't. When I got a call saying you got nominated for a Tony, I was like, "They're having the Tonys this year?" I felt like that was a year ago that we even did that. So, no, I don't know. I just would assume, I would like for them not to have one, so we can just, all those guys who are nominated can say, "Yeah, I won. Nobody's going to remember." So, yeah.
Is Plaza Suite still a possibility sometime in the future?
Yes. Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew Broderick were starring in this revival of the great old Neil Simon play, Plaza Suite. We had done it in Boston for a few weeks. It had huge success there. We came to New York. We're just about to open in New York on March 12th was our first performance, and that's the day they shut Broadway down. But the great news is Sarah, Jessica, and Matthew had such an extraordinary experience doing it that they are committed, fully committed to, and they're also iconic, great New Yorkers. So as soon as Broadway and New York reopens, Sarah, Jessica, and Matthew will be on the front lines doing that play again, which is great.
Oh, great. Congratulations. Yeah. So, Eitan, what's next for this film?
What's next for this film?
Yes.
First of all, we're participating in a lot of online film festivals, Jewish, LGBT, other film festivals. We have a wonderful American distributor, Greenwich Entertainment. He's talking to different streaming platforms. I actually hope that theaters, come back and that we can have a real premiere in New York with all of us sitting in a real theater and watching the film on a big screen. We just had somewhat of an Israeli premiere in Jerusalem. We were the opening film for the Jerusalem Film Festival. So the Cinematheque in Jerusalem allowed us to have like 10 people in the theater. And they had 3 theaters, so we were 30 people in this wonderful Jerusalem Cinematheque. John was not there, and we missed him terribly. But we saw the film together on a big screen. That was such an amazing experience. I hope we get to do that in America and the States, in New York, with John. And yeah, and for as many people as possible to see it. Because I think I speak in behalf of John and Neve as well. We love this film. We care about it deeply, and we want as many people as possible to see it. We want to share the film with as many people as possible.
So a follow-up to that question, what's next for each of you professionally? I mean, assuming that there is, vaccinations come around and there is a full return to the industry. Neve, what are you working on next?
So right now I'm working on more like personal stuff, because here in Israel we don't see some horizon with I have a play, the one that you mentioned when we started this conversation, Passing the Love of Women, in Bet Lesin, which is an amazing theater here in Tel Aviv, and I have a lead role there. And when everything will be open again, so I'll be there. The same, like John told, it was like on the same day. It's March 12. We got into lockdown. We performed one time in front of 20 people because nobody came, because of, that was the day when our prime minister, put everyone in their homes. So other than that, small stuff here, small stuff there. But yeah.
And now me and Neve are going to meet tomorrow somewhere on Rothschild Boulevard, because of course the restaurants, the coffee shops are closed, and we'll start developing Sublet 2.
Okay, great.
Sublet 2, Tomil comes to New York.
With me as a co-writer.
You're going to FaceTime me, right?
Yeah.
John, do you have any additional projects that you're working on?
I mentioned Plaza Suite. I'm doing a reboot. HBO is rebooting In Treatment, which was an Israeli show, a very successful Israeli show, and it's a really good thing to redo now, because the relationship is socially distant between a therapist and a patient, and that I think will be on in April. But LA just shut down again, and my production shut down as well. So who knows? I mean, LA is in a very, very, precarious, dangerous place right now. So we just take it day by day. As Neve said, that's a perfect way to say it. Little things here, little things there. That's all we're doing right now in order to get through this.
In Eitan.
Well, I don't like talking about other projects, but I want to talk only about Sublet. I don't want to talk about other. How would I say it? No, yeah.
I'll translate that. That means he's got something else going on, but Neve and I aren't in it.
No. Just I don't want to talk about other lovers when I'm with my my boys that I love so much and miss so much.
You're sweethearts. Yeah.
These Q&As, I see John, I see Neve. I get I get this smile on my face. I'm so happy to see you guys. It's such a pleasure, and yeah. So I'm not going to talk about other plans.
We get to talk about this movie, but we also get to see each other, which is a wonderful bonus.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully in 3 years we can have the same conversation about Sublet 2.
Exactly.
I look forward to that. Again, Eitan, John, Neve, thank you so much for this amazing film. Thank you for joining us this morning, and thank you all for watching the Q&A. Have a great day.
Thank you.